Welcome to the Climb Center for Advancement. My name is Tammy Marquez Oldham. I'm the director of the Small Business Development Center and the Global Trade Center. And we welcome you to have an experience with us this evening that is more conversation than presentation. This is an opportunity for you to hear from successful small business owners who've been working with the Small Business Development Center for some time. Ask them questions, have them ask you questions, and develop a dialogue around the ideas associated with entrepreneurship here in the Portland metro area. Many, many, many resources exist for you, and we hope that we can become a center for you to help you see where the resources are that are best fitted for your business. So tonight is a conversation, and we're grateful that you're here. I want to acknowledge our presenters, and I have a brief bio on each of them, so please bear with me. Tonight we have Allie and Angie, who are owners of Frock Boutique. Established in 2003, Frock strives to curate the most eccentric, eclectic, affordable, and whimsical fashions available from locally designed and produced items. Today, Frock Boutique has 5 employees, recently opened its second store in Seattle. They have completed both retail small business management program and the small business management program. Welcome, Angie and Allie.
Thank you.
Carl Pruitt is owner and education consultant of Tutor Doctor of Portland. For 15 plus years, Tutor Doctor has provided affordable, one-to-one in-home tutoring for students of any age. Tutor Doctor of Portland is franchise, currently employing 122 tutors as independent contractors. Carl is currently participating in the 10-month Small Business Management Program. Welcome, Carl. And finally, we have Katie. Katie's the owner and designer of the Grayling Jewelry. Grayling Jewelry is made entirely by hand in the USA in their Portland, Oregon studio. Grayling Jewelry was founded in 2009 and currently has 5 employees. Katie's currently in the Portland Business Alliance sponsored Advanced Business Management Program. Welcome, Katie, and thank you all for being here. So this part of our program, hi Leslie, welcome. This part of our program is related to some questions that we have heard from others who would like to have information from experienced small business owners. So the first question I'm going to direct towards Allie and Angie is, can you tell us a little bit about your business and what inspired you to get started?
We sure can. So the question was, what inspired our business and how did we get started? And our story really is quite a story of passion, as we both were vintage clothing collectors, and we used to bring all of our stuff to Burning Man, and we set up a boutique, a free boutique, and we would outfit whoever walked in our tent, basically. And after doing that for several years, Angie looked at me and said,
"This is nuts." We spend thousands of dollars each year collecting stuff to give away at a festival, which is awesome, and it was like the best week of the year, the best event in the world. But I felt like it was as good as any boutique I've ever seen, and I wanted us to have a real boutique, so that's what got us going.
I'd just like to add that we just decided to start. We did not have the SBDC here, or it was here, we didn't know about it yet. And we just kind of jumped in and went for it. And the first couple of years were definitely rocky, but we stuck it out and luckily found the SBDC about 5 or 6 years ago and kind of have helped us get on the path for really making it a true, viable, successful business.
Well, thank you both. And Carl, I'm going to ask you the same question. So what inspired you to get started?
Oh, thanks for having me. Well, I started as a teacher. I taught middle school and high school. So my background was in education, and Tutor Doctor is about helping students. And so it was a natural fit for me. When at about the 8th year of teaching, I was feeling I wanted to do more, something a little bit different. And I met my current business partner, Mark Seeker, and he had a franchise named Tutor Doctor in Portland. And I thought, well, that sounds interesting. Let's give this a try. So I had no business experience or background doing this, but I wanted to be a part of something different than being in education, as far as working with a school district. And this is private education, supplemental education, and we have ways of helping students in a different way. And I found this to be very rewarding. One of my activities through Tutor Doctor is meeting with families. I have a meeting tonight after this presentation and discussion. And I meet with families 5, 6, 7 days out of the week. And I get the opportunity to meet with students, first grade through college students. And it's very rewarding. It's very unique, the experiences that I have with each family. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Really appreciate your honest approach to answering these questions. I thank you. So finally, Katie, what inspired you to start your business?
Well, the roots of my jewelry company go back to when I used to sell jewelry out of my high school locker. I wanted a way to make a little money on the side, so, and my grandfather was actually a stone cutter, so I kind of grew up with an obsession that just continued to grow over the years regarding jewelry and the art of making jewelry and all the classical metalsmithing techniques. And so when I got into high school, I was very fortunate because my high school in Montana actually had a jewelry making class. So I just started getting really into it. And as a side note, I have had a nickel allergy my entire life. Most jewelry makes my skin itch. So I started making jewelry for myself that was nickel free, and then started making jewelry for my mom and all her friends, where we would have parties at the house, and all her teacher friends would bring over all their outfits, and I would make custom jewelry to go with each dress and each blazer and so I just started that way, and it's been a part of my life for over 20 years now. And in 2009, I took the leap and finally decided I think I can actually make a living doing this instead of doing it on the side. So kind of using everything I'd learned over the years, I spent many years in retail, buying and managing for a store, basically a clothing store that was a higher end clothing store. I took all my experience from the retail side and finally applied it to this wholesale side and launched a jewelry line that was 100% nickel free, that was also fashion forward while still maintaining affordability and being made in the United States. So that's kind of how I got started.
So Katie, while you possess the microphone of power
Yes.
down there,
Okay.
would you mind telling us what were some of the challenges that you faced when you got started?
Yeah, well, definitely money is a challenge. It's a challenge then, and it was a challenge then, and it's still a challenge now as my business grows. I launched my company on a shoestring budget, and just trying to be wise about what I invested my money in. I'm a sole owner, and I don't have a partner, so kind of relying on my friends and family and people who were willing to speak with me, who had business experience, was how I decided how to spend my money. Another thing, there's about 1 million jewelry designers in the world, probably just in the United States alone. In fact, there's probably half of this room's jewelry designers. I'm just kidding. And getting buyers to take my phone calls and read my emails was very challenging. To not let any of that knock you down, it took a lot of perseverance, and I had to just get over myself and pretend like I was working for someone else when I was making the phone calls and sending packets in the mail and stuff like that. So soliciting people for business was not necessarily something I felt comfortable doing, and I still don't now, but it's something that I felt someone has to do this for the business, and I have no one else to ask to do it. So, and you get more comfortable with it over the years. So getting buyers to take my phone calls and things like that was definitely hard. And then also a saturated market. With so much jewelry out there today, it's very hard to maintain a consistent look and feel while also staying ahead of the trends. So our branding has had to stay very strong. So establishing a really strong brand, and also creating a unique look in the market. I can also say that I had a copycat at one point. I had a legal battle with Getty over an image I used on my blog that cost me a lot of money. And also, what can happen in your first several years of business and throughout the whole cycle of, the ebb and flow of the growth, and is that you forget to take care of yourself. And so I will say that that has been a challenge that I've continued to work on, not treating myself as like the low rung on the totem pole, the person who just has to, grunt labor all the time and 100-hour work weeks. I have to take care of myself, so I have a strict 40-hour-a-week work policy.
Good for you, Katie. That sounds like good work-life balance there. Carl, how about you? So the question is, what were some of the challenges you faced getting started?
Capital, of course. I think not having enough money to start your business, if you try to start it without enough money, can really put you put you in the hole to actually be successful. We still, even though our business, the franchise model, is 16 years old for Tutor Doctor, it's 6 years old for Portland. So we're still a very small company, and we try to make our tutoring as affordable as possible. So I would say make sure you have enough capital. Another challenge we have is that the Tutor Doctor is not very well known, still really isn't. Raise of hands, who's heard of Tutor Doctor before tonight? Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. Great. Last year, there would probably be one person, and previous year, maybe 0. In fact, this is our 6th year in Portland. About half of our business now is referrals from schools, which is awesome, and other families referring us. So it really takes a while to establish your business. So I would say having the capital, and then, you need to run for mayor every day. And what I mean by that is that you have to put your best face forward in all instances. We do a lot of events with the public. I'm always branded with something. Maybe that won't work for your business if that's not appropriate, but I would say you're representing yourself in all instances, and so you never know when that you do something inappropriate could come back on you and hurt your business. So that would be another recommendation, is to put
Very
your
wise
best face
advice.
forward.
Yeah, very wise advice. So, Allie, so what about you guys? So what challenges, you're talking about Burning Man and, that epiphany that you had out in the middle of the desert. So what kind of challenges did you face, both of you, when you started your business?
So when we targeted our business to the Alberta Arts District, which is very artsy and Burning Man-like in a city. So we kind of that was our beginning mission, was to have this very funky, artsy experience for our shoppers. And the community that we picked really did embrace us. And so that was really helpful. I won't even say that capital is a struggle, because I think that's just a given for all of us. And somehow, Angie and I don't know when or how it happened, but we basically share a brain when it comes to our business. It's really fortunate. And so one of our struggles has been staffing, and just kind of finding people that understand our mission, and maybe understanding that people don't share our brain with us, and trying to get our message across. So I'd say one of our challenges throughout has been having the enough money to have employees, and having employees that kind of get what we're trying to do. But we've had definitely some successes and some failures as well there.
So Angie, I'm curious about, when did you all know it was time for employees? Because you were a team of 2 for a while. At what stage did you know that?
It was several years in. Work-life balance, which came up a moment ago, has always been a huge priority for us, and we've always wanted to be able to take the trips that we want to take. She's had 3 babies since we've opened, so that she could have her maternity time. I got a master's degree at Portland State. So that's always been a huge priority to us, and we knew that we needed to bring someone in order to balance it out. In the beginning, we both sort of had to work extra side jobs and stuff like that too. So,
How old was your company when you hired your first employee?
when did we bring Jean in? At least 3 years, and it might have even been longer than that. And we started with very, very little money, which I think is great. You know, we rubbed together a few $1,000s each, and 12 years later, we have 2 stores in 2 cities, and we're doing awesome. It did take a while to get to that point. Who has heard the stat for how long it takes for a business to actually succeed? Does anybody, have you ever heard? 3 to 5? I've always heard 5, and it's at least 5. So one of my biggest pieces of advice to people is please realize that going into it and know that if you can make it 5 years after that point, you're going to start seeing exponential growth, but you really do have to make it that far. And I see so many people come and go 1 to 2 years in business, and I wonder what were they thinking. And you know, I just feel like it's ego getting in the way or something, because there's no way you're going to be an overnight success. I mean, it's highly unlikely anyway. So give it the time that it needs.
I'm going to go off script a little bit because you've inspired me to ask you another question. Okay. So what was it like opening your second shop in a second city? That's a very big decision. Did you have a business plan and strategy around that? Was it an organic growth? Tell us a little bit about that decision making.
It was a completely organic growth situation. We have pursued several different things over the years. It's felt like for a while that we've wanted to do something more, but a lot of things haven't worked out for us. Things that we've pursued, things we were devastated that ended up crashing and burning and things like that. But this Seattle thing came out of nowhere, and it was so meant to be. It's too long of a story to go into, but it was a shop called Frock Shop that was ending their lease, and they wanted someone to take over the lease, and she wanted to maintain her own name and so on and so forth. And it just came together in the most perfect of ways. And we have a wonderful friend who used to work for us up there who was able to lead us as a manager of the store, and it was extremely organic and meant to be, and it feels amazing. It opened exactly 12 years to the day of our original opening in Portland, Oregon, and we first heard about it in March, and we were open on July 29th. So it's been a wild ride, and I hope to God it's the right decision. There's nowhere to go but up. I mean, but it's super exciting for us, and we've felt a little bit constrained by our very small boutique, and not really wanting to spread ourselves too thin or dilute our brand in Portland. Like, it seems so exciting to go to a new city.
Well, congratulations. I'm going to shift down to Katie for just a minute, because the congratulations are also in order for you. I understand that you've recently been featured in Built Oregon. So I'm interested in knowing about, is PR part of your marketing strategy? How did you get to that place of being recognized? I know marketing is the lifeblood of every small business. So we're interested in hearing about that, if you don't mind.
Sure. So I love marketing. I love it more than designing sometimes, which is a little creepy because I'm supposed to be a designer first and foremost, but I really get into it. I just love it. So early on, I was very lucky because I had some existing relationships with some people in the media locally, to be able to at least tell them about my brand when I was starting it. However, Built Oregon happened because of an introduction from a friend of a friend. And it's a fantastic website if you guys haven't checked it out, builtoregon.com. And it's a website filled with, all Oregon businesses. They have a lot of very inspiring articles. I've also been really lucky, like last year, this time, we were also, the Portland Business Journal did an article about my company, which was, I don't even know how much that was worth. It was a full page. which is very exciting. It was really, I mean, it was very, very exciting for me to be recognized by such an influential publication. And it felt like, okay, you know, people take me seriously. And also last year we were Martha Stewart American Made Awards finalist, which was also very amazing because there were, talk about 1 million jewelry designers, there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of jewelry designers competing for the top 10 spots. So that was pretty great. But I have to say, for me, the reason most of that happened is because I asked people. I pitched to the Portland Business Journal. They did not find me. Built Oregon, same thing. You know, you have to stick your neck out, and I will say that I feel like 90% of people want to help you out and they want to spread the word about your brand, but you have to ask. You really do. And I find that most people don't ask. So I find, you know, I mean, sure, you're going to hear a lot of no's, but I think it goes back to you really just have to continue to think of yourself like, I was like, okay, I'm putting on my PR hat and I'm going to reach out to these people, and maybe none of them write back. But if one of them does, I'm going to be super thrilled. And I think that's been my PR strategy. It's been fairly local, but we have been fortunate. I did hire an intern for like a year through the Art Institute, who all she did was send emails to publicists. So Courtney Cox has Grayling Jewelry. Amanda Seyfried has Grayling Jewelry. We've also had Grayling's been on Celebrities at the Grammys. Unfortunately, they've only been pictured a handful of times, but you know, that feels pretty cool too. So you just have to decide you want to do it
And just go.
and just do it.
Yeah, awesome.
Doesn't cost any money to reach out.
Congratulations. So Carl, I have a management question for you. So you have over 100 franchisees, I understand. Is that correct?
I have tutors.
Tutors.
Yes, over about 128.
So how do you manage all of that? They're not all in Portland, as I understand, or are they?
They are.
Okay. So how do you manage that? Because I would imagine you have certain standards and quality expectations.
Yes. So the initial filter of finding somebody that we want to tutor with us is probably the key. We get quite a few resumes, applications in daily, and I'm really looking for someone that they're in this for the right reasons. A tutoring session with a student during a week is 2 or 3 hours of work. So for them to want to commit to working with us and maybe have only one assignment, that's 2 or 3 hours of work a week. It's not something they're going to get rich at. It's not something that they're going to have full-time work. So they need to be passionate about what they're doing, and so we filter for that in an initial phone screen. We also filter for happiness, meaning I need to have somebody that is happy, that is not grumpy, that knows how to be professional, since we do not micromanage our tutors. They're independent contractors. They're going into the homes and working with students. They need to bring a positive energy working with students, and so by having that pretty strict filter on the front end, it saves me a lot of pain on the back end, having to manage mismatches. And so we've really fine-tuned that in the sense that, I'll knock on wood, we don't have a lot of, I don't have a lot of management to do. I'll get between 0 and 6 calls or emails for questions from my tutors a day. And that's it. That's really not a lot. I would suggest that if you do have the independent contractor model and have quite a few, to be prompt in your responses, just like you would for someone that you are selling a service to, because they are really our sales force. If you take that perspective, they're delivering hundreds and hundreds of tutoring hours, and so you need for them to be professional and you need for them to be happy. And so we have 2 individuals that we are making happy. It's the client and it's our tutor base.
Wow, that's a really sound philosophy of business management. I think we all could learn a lot from just embracing that kind of philosophy. So earlier, as we were sharing with one another before the program started, you let me know that you're all currently working with a business advisor here at the SBDC. I'm curious if you'd feel comfortable sharing maybe some of the areas of focus that you have going on with your business advisor right now, just to give folks a glimpse of, you know, what is business advising and how do I know if I need it? Would you mind, Allie and Angie, starting and telling us who's your business advisor? your business advisor might be here, and if so, we might have her stand up. I'm just saying.
I was just going to say maybe I should leave the room now.
Can we get Leslie to please stand
Leslie
up?
Hildula, could you please stand? Thank
Leslie
you.
Hidalgo.
If I had known, I would have worn my frock out.
So we just checked off a huge box with Leslie with our opening of our second store. And would also just like to mention that one of the huge hurdles that her and Mike Kelsey helped us with is they did get us our first form of bank lending. They helped us through that process, and that was, I feel like, one of our major, major milestones and something that we needed a lot of help with, and they delivered the goods.
Well said.
So what are you currently working on?
Well, I was going to say so many things that we aren't good at. We are great at what we buy for our store and the passion we feel for the customer service that we provide, but we aren't that great with numbers and staffing. We've had issues with. So our counselor helps us a lot with that. The SBDC also puts us in touch with specialized people that we can work with, like an HR manager that we can call just ad hoc to use when we are hiring someone, or checking references, things like that. We meet with another gal, Jackie B, once a year, at least once a year, to go over our numbers, and she helps us run all the equations and things like that, that even though she does go over it with us every year, we still can't remember how to do it the next time. So they really help us with the ins and outs and some of the legal issues and things like that you would never even think about with hiring people. And, being a business owner, you have to wear so many hats. It's nearly impossible to do all the things you have to do. So we like to hire out what we are not good at. And we like to do it through the SBDC.
And Carl, how about you? I mean, who was your lead advisor?
Noah Brockman. And
Noah Brockman.
yeah,
Okay.
and
And I don't think Noah's here today, but Bruce is here, who works with Noah. Bruce, can you stand up just a moment? Thank you, Bruce. Bruce is working with the Capital Access team.
Well, the expansion, when I joined, since Tutor Doctor was here before I joined, there was a business owner, Mark Seeker, and I joined him in the expansion of Tutor Doctor. And so we needed a business plan in order to get capital. And so the Small Business Development Center helped us put that plan together and really held us accountable for making a very solid business plan, which was a significant learning experience for me. I'd never done anything like that. I don't want to do that again. So I'm really pleased that we have it and that it's something that can be used, and it's been modeled for other franchise owners through Tutor Doctor and through Home Office, which tells me that they did a really good job. And so I thank Noah and the Small Business Development Center for that. And currently I have a class that I go and attend. Andrew, I attend most of the time. Sorry about Monday.
Andrew, can you stand for just a moment? This is Andrew Attaboy. Thank you, Andrew.
And through that class, we've been able to meet different presenters and expand upon our business connections with HR, especially Jill Crutchfield. We've worked with in many instances. She's fantastic. So I would say you do wear many hats, but you also need to delegate and use resources that are available to you. And this is a wonderful resource, so don't take that for granted and try to do too much on your own. There are individuals that can do things for you that are more specialized and can help you be more efficient with your time too.
Katie, who's your business advisor?
Karen Guth,
Karen.
stand up.
Hi, Karen. Welcome.
So I will just say that I wish I would have known about the SBDC 5 years ago. I am now in advanced small business management, which is one of the classes that you can take after you've been in business 5 years. So for me to look back and see there are other classes I could have taken, I feel so jealous of people who are able to take those classes, because I just was like, what? How did I not know? How did I not know? So through my class this year, We have covered a number of topics. All have been amazing. It's hard to even know where to start. The SEO class we just had like 2 weeks ago was fantastic. I've learned a ton from there. And then through that class, I found out about a seminar that was happening that I went to last night, and I can say mind blown. I have so many great strategies that I can't wait to put into action. I think it's knowing that there's a team of people who are able to help you and who are willing to help you. You feel very, very isolated as a business owner sometimes, especially when you can't share a lot of your trials and tribulations with your staff. I am a very inclusive owner. I like everyone who works on the Grayling team to know what's going on, but there are certain things that you can't or shouldn't share. And it makes me feel much better and much stronger as a business person to know that there are advisors here at the SBDC who I can talk to very frankly about numbers, ideas, and things like that. So I really urge you to learn more. I tried to actually refer a friend of mine who lives in New York to her SBDC. They don't have the Climb Center. They have one-day workshops. So the classes you can get through the SBDC that go on for months, they're not a huge commitment in time, but I can say that for a few pennies, I guarantee you'll get hundreds if not thousands of dollars worth of return out of the time that you put in. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you very much. A very valuable 2 cents it is. So I've asked a lot of questions tonight. I'm going to open up the questions to the audience because I know you came with many. And so who would like to go first? Questions? Yes.
I'd like to know your challenges with staffing. I have a small business and I have 1 to 3 people that go through. It's seasonal. I love having employees, but it's also like it really resonated with me what you said about getting people onto the same like general idea, big plan, how you feel about the business that you do, and have them do it the way that you envision this business to be. So that I find that really challenging. I mean, it's kind of fun, but it's also challenging. So yeah, so I'd love to hear a little bit more from you, like maybe how you go about that, how you try to get people on. I mean, that was specific from you, like setting things up initially. This is kind of what I want from my subcontractors, you, Carl, but then from you, from the frock business, like how do you get people onto that same vision? Good question.
It is a challenge. It's maybe our biggest challenge. I have found that I need to be like a lot more of a leader with my people than I've ever wanted to be or thought I could be. I've wanted to be everyone's best friend, family member, get along, cool boss, all that, and easygoing. And that's not working. So for me, like I have to line everything out, write it all out, try to have, an operations manual, I guess it's called. Show people, do thorough trainings on what I expect, how I do things, the things that drive me nuts, my pet peeves, and just, I loved what Carl said about hiring happy. I mean, it's like trying to find the right attitude and the right person, and then training them on doing things the way we want it done and our beliefs. And I've had to be a lot more anal retentive, and just that's how I've had to change and grow as a person, and unwillingly.
And I'd just like to add in one thing. When we have an employee, usually you work by yourself in our shop because it's small enough and you can. We like to also empower our employees to, like, you guys pick the music and you solve the problem. We give them the tools to solve a problem in a creative way. And I feel like once they kind of get the routine, having that kind of like autonomy and support from us to do what they think is the right thing to do is really helpful, and that makes people feel good and empowered in the situation. So that's one thing that I do like that we do with our employees.
You mentioned with the independent contractor, I would say find individuals that you think you can work with, even if they look great on paper. They have all these degrees and background and experience. If you don't think that you can work with that individual, go with your gut and choose not to, and it's okay to do that. And I've done that before with individuals. Math comes up a lot in tutoring, and if I get a tutor that can tutor math and calculus, they have a little bit more. I give them a little bit more leeway, but I also have to limit myself because, did you show up to the interview with like a T-shirt and like holes in your shorts? I mean, these are reflections of not only them, but it's a reflection of our company, Tutor Doctor, and so I need for them to be professional. And so I would say go with your gut, work with individuals that you think you can work with, and set them up for success by putting in place expectations right from the beginning. And read, our tutors submit session reports. Read their session reports. Don't just assume that everything that they're going to do is going to be successful, even if you're, late at night. You really need to look at those first few weeks of activity with newly contracted or new employees to make sure that things are going well. And I'll reiterate, go with your gut because it's usually right.
Katie, do you have anything to add to that question? I do. Okay.
Make one really, really, really good hire that you like jive with 110%. Train that person on everything that's inside your head, and then have them train everyone else. That's what I did. Worked for me.
That's great advice.
That's one thing. The second thing would be also, much to his point, we hire for corporate culture. We can train someone on the things that they don't know, but we hire for company fit, and we know what we're about and we know what we're not about. And I can tell within a week of working with someone. I'm a huge fan of the working interview. You mentioned that you have contractors, but I have to know that we can kind of jive like day to day, like that, or it's just, I'll know right away it's not going to work. Even if on paper they are the right fit. There's a lot of nuances in small business, and not everyone gets it. So those are my comments.
That was an excellent question. Another question in the back.
Yeah, I have a follow-up question to that, specifically for Katie. How do you find employees that, in your business where it's talent and a style that you're trying to put forth in your brand and have that consistency, how do you find somebody that matches your style?
Did everyone hear the question? Okay, thank God I don't have to repeat it. That was like super long. I'm just kidding. So I'm a huge fan of PDX Pipeline for advertising for jobs. It does cost a little bit of money, but I've had some great success with that. I will say that writing job descriptions for the different positions within our business that are very, very detailed has made it incredibly easy for me to post a job when we have an opening. I have applicants submit. Recently, our most recent hire was for a marketing assistant. So I took all of the resumes from. We also did a posting on Craigslist as well. But I set up a specific email address just for resumes. For a while, I just used a Gmail account, but it worked great because it kept them all out of the main flow of our day-to-day emails. And then I responded to the people who I was interested in with a, I think the last time for the marketing assistant, there were 3 people who I thought, okay, these people seem to have what this job would take. I'm going to ask them to create a mock project. So I gave them outlines and I said, I need you to create something. Here's the parameters. Here's all the materials you would need. And then based on what they submitted back, I could kind of get a glimpse into their working style, the way they corresponded with me. their level of professionalism, timeliness. I could get a lot from just that simple interaction. And then after that, I invited the one that I felt most strongly about in for a kind of a working interview. And it worked out, thank God, because I'd already gone through 3 of them. So it doesn't already work. It doesn't work every time. And the times before, I just sort of hired the person with the best resume. So I've learned. It's been a steep learning curve. But I also fire very fast. So that's the other key component.
Did you want her to elaborate on how she fires really fast?
I think that's self-explanatory.
Okay. Yes, right back here.
So I think my wife and I's situation is kind of unique in terms of we are now just getting started, so we are incurring a lot of roadblocks. So my question specifically is for Katie. I heard you say earlier that you deal with a lot of wholesalers in terms of getting your material. What are some of the roadblocks that you've come across with dealing with wholesalers, and how did you overcome them in terms of getting everything that you need to get your business going?
Are you specifically talking about when you say wholesalers, getting supplies from wholesalers? Okay. So what's the business that you're starting? A food cart. Okay. I will say, as far as a food cart, I think there are people that are much better. They're much more capable in answering this question, because I feel your industry and mine are so different. For me, I was very lucky when I came into my business, because I had been making jewelry for so long. I kind of had contacts in the wholesale side of the industry where I knew I could get, X, Y, and Z type of chain or raw material from this person or that person. With food, I think it's a very different ball of wax. And I just will let you know that there are people here at the SBDC who had food companies who could probably answer those questions for you.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow on to that. Thanks for that advice, Katie. We do have food experts here at the SBDC who could provide you with no-cost business advising on sourcing ingredients for your food cart. Also, just so that you know, the Metropolitan Hispanic Chamber, they're really experts in the food cart business. So I'd like to give a shout out to Jonathan Colon Montesi, who is really the expert in your field. Yes, Andrew, a question in the back.
Sure. So what do you think is the most prominent reason why small businesses don't succeed? I was going to say failure, but that's a little much. If that's too meaty, maybe just then for your specific industry. Like, there's many reasons, but what's the big one that just stands out?
My number one is, I've alluded to it a little bit, but one of my favorite words in the English language is stick-to-itiveness.
Katie, you were smiling down there. I think you have some insights.
My mom just texted me a picture. Monday was an incredibly rough day for me personally. In my business, I had the knock down, drag out, crying, pulling out my hair fight with myself. And when I'm in that headspace, I usually turn to my husband first, because he's also a business owner and he's very helpful. But sometimes I just need mom. And my mom texted me a picture of this quote. And it said, "Ambition is the path to success. Persistence is the vehicle you arrive in." And that's by former U.S. Senator Bill Bradley. And so, to your guys' point, I feel that persistence is the key. Because you can get everything else, but if you're not committed to it, it's not going to work.
Great question, Andrew. Other questions? Yes, down here.
So you mentioned, Katie, earlier, and this could apply to Allie and Andy as well. I own a retail business, and I'm wondering about the whole public relations thing. You mentioned about reaching out to media. I actually did do that. We got a really nice write-up on my monthly, and then it sort of boosted the business, and then it went back. So I'm wondering, when reaching out to different media outlets, do you do it around a specific event, or is it around we're here? How do you get their attention?
Do you guys have comments?
I have a few.
Do it.
I'm sure
Yeah,
you do too. I've always been advised that the more you can write the story for them, the better. So if you can provide them with quotes and kind of a guideline to what the story is you want to tell, they're much more likely to write it. They're under so much pressure to write so many stories for the internet, the news, print, whatever. So doing it that way. And the people that I read about the most have a PR firm on the payroll. And I think it can be worth it. We've never done that, but I've seen a lot of other people get a lot more media coverage.
Can I add to that? One of the things about Frock is they're on Alberta. And Angie, I know you work as part of the Alberta Business Street group. And so that is a great marketing tool right there when you're on a street like Alberta. If you're not, you got to make it up through a really extensive marketing program.
Absolutely.
We had another question, the lady right behind Molly
Yes.
there. Yes.
I want to know, how crucial is your time when you're starting a new business?
Your time?
Yes, the time that you spend.
I think it's everything. Yeah, that's all you got. Yeah. Yes.
Did that answer your question? Okay, good.
Am I in trouble with somebody? Okay.
I mean, it's just what, I'm not sure which one of the ladies said, you have to balance your work with, you know, with real life events. And, I mean, I'm one, I worked for Intel for 15 years, okay? And I know how an industry can smother you and take you and use you and throw you away. So if you don't balance that, I need to take time for myself as opposed to what I need to do for my job, how it can literally destroy your family and yourself, you know? And that's where this comes from.
And that's fine. But what I'm saying is that, what I'm saying is that when you're getting ready to start a new business, anything can come up, and you need to be right there in order to handle the situation. You don't have time to go and play. You need to be where you need to be.
Yeah, I think there's a deeper story behind the situation. The startup time, thank you for the question.
Right? It'll get better. The startup time is definitely, you're gonna be more invested. And it's also different than working for somebody else because it's your own thing and you're working together. So it's more rewarding than going and working for someone else.
You have a family-run business. Yes. Time for one more question. Yes, Jennifer?
Can I ask a question for Carl regarding Tutor Doctor? So you bought a franchise
Yes.
that started somewhere else?
Oh, so yes, so it's globally, and so the franchise owner, he had a smaller part of Portland and then wanted to expand, and his background was not education, it was business. And so he wanted to expand with somebody who had an education background. And I was more comfortable owning a business with somebody that had a business background since I did not. And so it worked well. You mentioned having two minds that are melded together. And so it's similar for us as well. We have different strengths. We have different challenges. And so we complement each other very well. And so that's where I am. That's how the expansion happened. And you know, I sold a car for capital. I just took a huge risk. My wife was not pleased about it. Going from something very safe, teaching, you know, there's tenure, there's everything related to teaching, and then doing something extremely risky with a 5-year-old and having a young child. These aren't things that a lot of people desire to do or think that they're going to do. I had no plans of ever owning a business that was not, I didn't even think I could even do that, but I have, and I did, and I'm really happy that I made that decision. Did I answer your question? Okay, great, thanks.
Well, I'd like to give thanks to our panelists tonight for being willing to share your stories from a very heartfelt and honest perspective. I've learned a lot from you today. Learned some new vocabulary. Andrew, you'll have to get the spelling on that one word because that was a good one.
It's in the dictionary.
Thank you.
It's a real word, stick-to-itiveness.
And yes, it's a good one. So we're going to change a little bit of our programming now to answer maybe some of the questions that you all might have about some of the services that the panelists have spoken about tonight. So panelists, I welcome you to join the audience. I know some of you have small businesses to return to, and so please feel free to do as you need, and please take dinner with you as you go if you do decide to go. So one of the things that I'd like to share with you tonight, and I hope that you take home with you and that you share far and wide, is this idea that is really a fact, and that is you are not alone. When I talk to small businesses every day, which I do, I'm Tammy Marquez Oldham, the director of the Small Business Development Center and the Global Trade Center. What I hear often from small business owners is, thank goodness I found you. I've been feeling all alone. And so we have an amazing team. Can my team stand for just a minute, who's in the audience? Thank you guys for making time tonight. You've been with clients all day. Thank you. So this message, you are not alone, is a message that we share with you, but we want you to share with others because it's a really important and powerful message. Every day you work in your business, your hope is to begin working on your business at some point. And we help businesses learn how to move from that place of working in their business day after day after day to a position of working on your business. And I can tell you that those businesses who decide to go that direction are the ones that are growing, thriving businesses, and we see thousands of them. I want to share with you a little bit about a philosophy that we have here. So we often say it's the combination of long-time or long-term business advising combined with long-term education that builds a thriving business, and I know that that is a fact. The reason that I know that is because I've looked at and studied thousands of businesses over the last 10 years that I've been here at the SBDC, and there's a direct correlation from those like our panelists today who've made the determination that investing in their future and lifelong learning is helping them to grow their business because they are growing themselves as entrepreneurs. I don't know about you guys, but I've yet to meet a business that operates without a person. So we kind of feel like entrepreneur development is really important. So the center strives every day to help understand the individual needs. Each and every member of our panel had and has individual needs. Even those who are partners, they have individual needs. So the business advisor learns about those individual needs. They meet the client where they are, they listen. Our job is to inspire your dream. Our job is to be realistic with you. Our job is to help you find the best resources available. Sometimes they're here at the SBDC or the Global Trade Center, and sometimes, as I mentioned about the Metropolitan Hispanic Chamber, they're elsewhere. So part of our job also is knowing where the resources are, and all of our advisors and our instructors know where those are. So some of the programs that were mentioned today, and you guys are nodding and as panelists, you've been in some of these programs, but I just want to mention to you a little bit about these programs, and then more importantly, I'm going to have the cohort lead who manages these programs just tell you a little bit about them. So the Small Business Builders Program has seen 250 graduates through that program. And I don't believe that Terry Long is here tonight, is he? No, okay. So the Small Business Builders Program, they're really for the business, and correct me if I'm wrong, Molly, because you know this better than I do, that's 1 to 3 years in business. These business owners, as you guys alluded to, they don't know what they don't know, and they really need to know that stick-to-itiveness word. But what they're feeling a great deal of is overwhelmed. And so when they come into this program, they meet others who are in exactly the same place they are, and imagine their surprise. Wow, there's a whole bunch of me's out there, and that's a truth. And they become a cohort over the time that they're together, and that's really powerful. The cohort-based learning that we work with here at the SBDC as one of our core programs, it inspires a lot of cross-pollination. Business owners are sourcing for each other, they're finding food vendors for each other, They're working to help each other solve problems. And then you meet with your advisor one-on-one, and that's really powerful because it applies the learning. In the retail small business management program, we actually have the founder of that program here in the audience, Leslie Hildula. So Leslie, could you talk a little bit about what inspired you to create this program? I think your program was created in 2012, and you've graduated 60 graduates through it. So would you mind coming down and telling us a little bit about your program?
The retail program was put together by Tammy and Jackie and me eventually, because they recognized that retail is a big part of the Portland economy. And so big that you can develop a program that's specifically aimed at its needs and talk about what it's like to have a storefront and what it's like to do online marketing, what it's like to have seasonality and have to buy your inventory in anticipation of what you're going to need to be selling in a quarter or in 6 months, and what it's like to ramp up for Christmas and then have very little sales in January and February. Those kinds of issues are common to almost all retailers. So we put together a program, and it's been great fun, and I've gotten to know some fantastic independent retailers. I mean, it's the independent retailers that make Portland so special, that attract so many tourists to Portland. It's places like Frock, and on the places on North William like Queen Bee, and downtown like Radish Underground, and out on Hawthorne, places like Harmony, and in Selwood. Our independent retailers are creating those neighborhoods that we all love to shop in, right? Because every town has a Macy's and every town has Target. They're not special. They're not Portland. It's our independent retailers. So that's what we talk about in the retail program is, okay, how do you compete? Why should a customer come to you? And the program has been growing to the point now that next year we're going to have a retail business builders program for people who are just starting, and then we'll have an advanced retail program for people like the owners of Frock, like you guys were a couple years ago. Because the issues are different when you're in the startup phase and that, you know, just starting or in your first year when you need to know everything. And so we'll do that in 10 weeks versus the advanced retail program, we'll do that in 10 months. So as a business owner, people are committing to 3 hours of class once a month and then an hour of advising with an advisor, often me, but there's a team of us who work in the retail program, as well as the specialist in search engine optimization and the specialist in QuickBooks and things like that. So it's a great team, and it's a great time to be working in Portland and to be in retail in Portland. Tourism is up, and those stores that have tapped into that tourist market in my sample are doing really well, and it's great to see. It's a good time to be in retail in Portland.
Thanks, Leslie. So I'm going to ask Andrew to come down for just a minute, if you wouldn't mind, Andrew. I didn't give him any advance notice, so thank you, Andrew, for being so adaptable. So we talked about the small business builders 1 to 3 years in business, and we talked about the specialized retail program. Andrew helps to make sure that those businesses who are 3 to 5 years, some of the most vulnerable, as our panelists were talking about, are really well supported. So I'd like Andrew to tell a little bit about what makes his cohort special.
Well, first, I would highly encourage everyone, and you're already here, to allocate some time for that category of things that are important, but maybe not urgent, such as this, such as advisement, classes, a book. And one key thing is if you don't have the time, that probably means that you need to do that. The SBM cohort or segment is that middle ground after idea creation, after maybe the first year of being open as a business, so the 2 to 5 year sweet spot. Some characteristics would be, you know, hiring your first employee, stepping back and saying, I open, I don't have time to think, and then I close after 12, 13 hours. I don't have time to think, I don't have time to do anything, so it's about processes. Other characteristics are, where are you on your financial goal? If you don't have one, another key part of that. So as most of the programs, it's a 10-month program. Every month there's a new topic: marketing, sales, etc., SEO, and so on. So it is that sweet spot. And of course, someone will go over the advanced class. 2 to 5 years, wonderful wonderful instructors. There's a leadership class in there also. So happy to entertain any questions on that. Thanks.
You know, Katie alluded to I think it was Katie who said, gosh, I wish I had known sooner because I would have gone through the entire spectrum. You know, the small business management program, it's 30 hours of instructing and 20 hours of advising concurrently. The idea is that you come to class with your cohort for 3 hours once a month. It's not a lot of time. You learn something that you probably don't know, but maybe you do know and you need a refresher. Then you meet with your advisor about it. So for example, you might study how to understand your financial statements. How many of you are feeling like you're really strong in that area? One. Yay. Awesome. So then you go and you learn. Yes, you take the dive in and say, okay, I don't know about the subject, but people are telling me it's really important to learn, so I'm going to go learn. And then you meet with your business advisor and they say, let's look at your own profit and loss statement. Oh, you don't have one yet. That's okay. Let's get you introduced to QuickBooks so we can have a profit and loss statement. Then you have one. Now let's learn on your own statement. And I can tell you that there is magic when you can learn about your own business by learning about the subject in class and then applying the learning. So you do have an opportunity to go through a spectrum. And Katie, you can go reverse. We do have a gentleman who started in the Oregon Department of Transportation Small Business Management because he's a trucking company owner. Then he went to SBM 2, which is now called Small Business Management. And then he went to SBM 3, which is now Advanced Small Business. And then he went to Small Business Builders, which is Small Business Management 1. And then he told me the other day when I saw him that he's going to go back and do Advanced Small Business again. And I said, you're welcome. So he's gone through the whole spectrum. So you also can choose to do that. Come and join the spectrum. So the last thing I want to tell you about is the Advanced Small Business Management Program. Karen Guth is the cohort lead, and I'll have her talk to you about the program. So you're 3 to 5 years in business. You've learned about some of the things you didn't know. But most importantly, you learned that there are a whole bunch of things you need to learn. And so by that stage, you're becoming a lifelong learner. There's just no question about it. It's a little bit of an addiction, but in a really good way. And so, Karen, come on up and tell us a little bit about your Advanced Small Business Management. It has 75 graduates since it's been formed in 2009.
Thank you, Tammy. Advanced Small Business Management is all about, as you can see here, the maturing business. And maturing means different things to different business owners and different companies. And we have quite a range in our current cohort. One of the things Portland is starting to become known for is its maker movement, the small manufacturers, artisans that are starting their own businesses and manufacturing locally here in Portland and selling locally and now trying to expand that marketplace. So this cohort that we have this year has, I think, out of the 12, we have, I think, 6 manufacturers, including Katie. She's in our current cohort. What we try to do with the maturing business, again, that means different things to different people, is start to really take a step back and strategize for your business. Try to get the small business owner to step away and build value in their company by kind of making themselves, I don't want to say inconsequential in the business because they never will be, but stepping away from the operations and letting the business actually operate without them day to day. And again, that's a process for every business, but I find that you can really build value in your company if you are not completely indispensable day to day. Because if you were ever to try to exit your business, if they needed you day to day, your business would not be as valuable without you. So it is a process, and through this process, we get business owners to look at strategic planning, look at the big picture, figure out how you can look 3 years out, 5 years out, how you go about projecting changes that you want to build into your company, and how you go about financing those changes. That requires quite a bit of understanding of your financial statements, of your financial strategies, ratio analysis, all those kinds of things that once you're in business about 5 years start to become pretty important. So we go pretty deep on that stuff, and then again in the advising we'll go even deeper, and it really helps to have your financial statements regularly presented to you either by your bookkeeper or just out of your QuickBooks program. The people that don't have that yet, we do a little bit more catch up, and then we can really start digging in. And I think that part is really addictive, as Tammy was saying. Once you start looking at those numbers and those, they start speaking to you, you're going to be dreaming about it. And that's actually my particular passion, is getting business owners to be pretty well versed in their financials. And no, if you don't have that understanding, you're pretty much flying blind. Certainly by this time, and it actually does help you build a stronger and more valuable company, so that you're not being carted out in a box at the end of your life, but you're able to enjoy the fruits of your labor, long before you have to be taken out in a box. So anyway, I think it's a really fulfilling time for everybody in this advanced small business management class. Some of them realize that they do need to go back and get some more of those fundamentals, but a lot of them are starting to look up from their workbenches and from their whatever else they're doing in their operations, and really start to think about where they want to see their business in 5 years, 10 years, or when they'd like to leave and exit. So I hope to see some of you there. It's a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
I do want to quickly underscore one thing in I think definitely all three of these courses, maybe not the first one. The teaching is on your business versus here's theory, and then now go apply it. When you get back to your business, we're actually working on your business in the classroom, and I found that to be a big difference, I think, with other types of classes that I've attended. So we're actually working on your specific issues and businesses per class. So.
Andrew brings up a really great point, and I'm glad you did, Andrew. So all of the folks that you've heard from tonight have owned their own business or currently do own their own business. So your business advisors are speaking from a place of knowing. And, Karen's started a business, she grew a business, and she sold it. So she knows what that process is about, and many of other advisors are currently operating their businesses. So they're staying current and relevant. They're bringing in subject matter experts. As Andrew said, this is not about theory. They're bringing in subject matter experts. So part of our commitment to you in these programs is to bring you information that's current, that's relevant, and that's leading edge. Sometimes people ask me, what is it like to be the director of the SBDC? And I said, I can't imagine doing anything else. Every day we get to be involved in the creative spirit of the entrepreneur, and we have to move faster than the speed of business. And sometimes my staff say, why do you move so fast? I hear that sometimes. And I say, because our business owners are moving faster than we are. So that's really our commitment, and we take that very, very seriously. I myself have owned 3 businesses, one of which was 77 employees. So as I listened to the aspects of working with employees, I certainly recall those really fun and challenging days as well. So I'm not going to go into the details of the curriculum. We'll be here afterwards if you guys are interested in knowing what some of the subject matter experts are teaching, and I'll just have you read that on your own. One-on-one business advising is no cost. The training program, there is a fee. We provide ongoing business advising throughout the year. You're going to be facing different challenges at different times. Some of you mentioned that, I think it was Allie and Angie that mentioned you meet with Jackie B once a year. So Jackie Babicki Peterson, you can Google her, you'll find quite a lot. Some people just come in to meet with Jackie B once a year because they need checkups. And some people meet with their advisors quarterly, and some people meet with their advisors up to 5 or more hours per year. So it just depends on what you need, what's happening with you. So we talked a little bit about why an education program. It's really about lifelong learning. And there's many different ways to get education. You get education every day in your business because your teachers that teach you best are your customers. There's no question about it. But sometimes it's good to get out of your world and learn from peers, and you learn from peers in a cohort-based program. You also are able to expand your paradigm. I think that when you change the lens and how you view things, you have a greater opportunity to see the true possibilities of your business. And being able to go into cohorts like this helps you to change that paradigm. So, many of our business owners have taken that step beyond advanced small business management. Scout Books is one of those who's gone into global trade. And I mentioned to you earlier that I also manage the Global Trade Center and the team that takes business owners outside of their zip code, outside their state, outside their country, into the international marketplace. Scout Books is one of those companies, and we are having a symposium on global trade next month. So if you're interested in learning about importing or exporting, we can do that at that time. So here's some other companies that have been through our program that have kind of decided that, this is a good place for them. And last year we worked with 750 clients. Can you imagine? There's 50,000 small businesses in Portland. We worked with 750, 3,800 one-on-one business advising hours. That's a lot of conversation about business. So definitely impact. I mean, you're looking at 44 businesses in the Portland Business Alliance Small Business Management Program. Katie, is that the one that you're in? Yeah, I thought so. So this is what they did. Over since 2011, 4.4 million in increased net sales. The average 100,000 per company. So that's the kind of expectation that you can have of engaging in a program like this. This is the team. Everybody's here tonight except, you guys are a good-looking bunch of people. Everybody's here tonight except Terry. We miss Terry, but he's here in spirit. So I guess in closing, what I'll leave you with is this idea: you are not alone. Invest in yourself. You will never regret it. Even if you have an advanced degree in business, some of us do, it's not enough. Advanced degrees are good, but it's not enough. You need to have the wisdom and experience of others with you on this journey, because it can be very lonely otherwise. So I invite you to stay and mingle. We have lots of food, and maybe wait out traffic. Even, believe it or not, this time of night traffic is still a little tough. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you. Please join me in welcoming and thanking this panel. They were really amazing. Thank you.